Hi, parents. I just thought I should quickly do a video about the impending possibility that there'll be loan forgiveness for students. It's a little hazy how it will apply, which is one of the first things I'll talk about it. A lot of you wonder what I think about it. Let's first try to define what I think they're trying to figure out. The question is right now, is it even legal to do it without a congressional vote or a vote of the Senate and the House? Because this was a committee passed in the Senate and the House, and it went to the Senate, the student loan system. And there's a question as to whether a executive branch can overturn something that's law. And there will undoubtedly be appeals from the banking industry when you forgive hundreds of billions of dollars. I really mean hundreds of billions of dollars. Total indebtedness is now 1.8 trillion of loans. So I'm not sure that the president can actually do it. He can change the interest rates. He can drop the interest, which I think he should do. And they already have done. Both presidents did it. And I think that that's something I could definitely stomach. I don't think there should be any interest for student loans. This is just a tax that goes back to the government. That doesn't make sense. But let's talk about what I think it looks like they're trying to do. It's either going to be $10,000 or $50,000 of loan forgiveness. And at $50,000, it could mean that I think it's 40% of the existing student loan debt will be forgiven. There's some interesting categories of loans that will not be forgiven. It's only the student direct loan that will be forgiven. There's no evidence that parent loans for undergraduate students will be forgiven, although I think they need reform in that area. And that's not what this video is about. Maybe I'll do a separate one about that. It also does not include the so-called alternate loans that students say who graduated in 2008 through 2014 took out from various loan organizations and banks. Those loans are not under this federal loan system. And I know that he can't forgive those loans. The president can't do that. Those are private companies. And in some cases, Wells Fargo is holding 100 billion of them. I think Citibank is holding about 60 billion. So they can't be forgiven. So let's understand that it's not necessarily the loans of your student will all be forgiven, and certainly not those loans I mentioned, and I hope you heard them. The PLUS loan will not be forgiven. The alternate loan student took out from banks, private banks, will not be forgiven. And I probably should mention that the Perkins loan also will not be forgiven. That's a separate loan too. So that leaves us with the direct student loans, which is a big chunk of the loan still. I mean, I still think it's about 400 billion. And the $50,000 would take care of like 40% of them. So it's a pretty big chunk we're going to get rid of. It could be 10,000. He promised 10,000 when he was running. So meaning President Biden. So I'm not totally sure. When you read the current proposed bill, it's not totally clear. It's not even in there, right? This is a separate executive order. He's hoping, right? I think it should have been part of the bill, because then you could pass it without having to break the filibuster. But I'm not sure why they didn't do that. That's what a lot of us have trouble with all this spending. Is it the right things? I didn't see a lot of things in there I thought should be there that would have bipartisan agreement, but they're not in there. So let's go on with this really quick. I'm going to try to keep this short. As you can probably guess, I'm not in favor of unconditional loan forgiveness of any kind. I think there should be, number one, there should be conditions on it. And the reason why there should be conditions is because I'll keep it separate, but I think that it's not good to have a principle that you basically got a free college education, no matter what the income of your parents were. What if your parents were very wealthy? You're getting the same thing that others get, and you got something of value. So I think that it should not be without strings. There should be volunteer work, perhaps some work in the community. If anybody did military service, I would not be opposed to loan forgiveness because sometimes they don't get it, loan forgiveness. But I think the country should get something in return. I don't like just giving people something for free. It loses value to me. So I'd favor loan forgiveness if there was something conditionally done to get it, but it's not in the proposal. There's no intention to do that, so I'm opposed to it for that reason. I'm also opposed to it's not fair to those who actually paid off their loans and worked hard. I know some students that struggled and paid off their loans because it was right to do. Were they stupid? It looks like they were if we forgive loans of students that graduated when they did. We're rewarding, I think, improper behavior. I know students are making 70, 80, 90,000 haven't paid on their loans. And Black schools historically have suffered because of it, because they have high default rates on loans. Those Black schools can't get a lot of federal grant money that other schools can get. They're hurting their schools by not having paid their loans. And it's really a sad situation. But that's me talking about what we should do with Black schools. And I have a lot of things we should do with them to help Black schools more, but that's not what this is about. It's me being opposed to forgiving loans. I'm also opposed to forgiving the loans because the students right now going to college are having to take out loans. Where will you end it? Where will you stop it? Will you just discontinue them? That's probably the next thing they'll do is discontinue them, which leads to number 4, I believe, which is colleges will note that the loans were forgiven so easily, and they'll feel no problem with hitting kids up to do master's degrees and push them into those and getting new debt, because after all, they just got their debt forgiven. I know students that will jump right into their master's. They didn't have that other debt. And I think it's inappropriate without having a career goal. Again, that's a separate video. So I'm opposed to it for that reason too. I think it will encourage more loans being taken out by students that shouldn't have done it in the first place. And it may make students today feel they're going to get it forgiven anyway. Why not? Number 5, I think it's unfair that PLUS loans will not be forgiven. Because by the way, that's where the indebtedness for most of my students, 80 to 90% of the debt is in the parent loan. As of 2010, when the Obama administration changed the policy slightly, made PLUS loans easier and caused the price of private college to soar. But that's a different video I did on why is college so expensive. But parents will get no forgiveness. And so a large chunk of the loans will still be out there on the backs of parents who have to retire. And my students don't step up and offer to pay those loans, nor do the parents even ask them to. So, I have a problem with it. So those are some of the reasons you get the idea why I'm opposed to, forgiving student loans unconditionally. Now, you might ask, well, what conditions? And I suggested volunteer service. I suggested a tax credit to students that have paid off loans. That might be acceptable, but that would involve negotiation. And that means getting into the negotiation between the parties. And there's so much bad blood between the parties today. And there's so many things being run through without bipartisan agreement. But that's something they could easily get bipartisan agreement on. You'd be quite surprised. I know I've noticed that some well-known Republicans and moderate Democrats that would be willing to talk about the conditions for forgiveness of loans. Now, right now, where does it stand? The Department of Education attorneys and counsel, that you call them, are considering whether it's legal. They're checking with legal authorities and legal experts. There is the part of the Constitution which says that Congress cannot forgive debt. They don't have, Congress, the executive branch does not have the power to forgive debt. And it is in the Constitution. So it might be that it has to be a law passed to do that. So it's up to their legal judgment. My guess is that the pressure will be on the Department of Education to agree it can be done. That's why the last brother that was running that department of loans in there had retired or quit very suddenly, was forced out because he didn't agree for the reasons that I mentioned. He's a nice brother too. I met him before. So I really think that they're going to push this through and make it an executive order. And there will be challenges, I predict, from the subcontracted banks that could stand to lose millions and millions of dollars. There will be also challenges from, in some cases, students who paid off their loans might feel it's unfair. But then again, you might not. It might just go right through. And then you have the repercussions I talked about already. Well, I hope that helps. That gives you an idea of what I think about it. If you have comments on it, please let me know. Click subscribe below. That would be great. And or make a comment, get a hold of me. Let me know what you think about these videos. I hope they're helping you. God bless you. Bye-bye now.